Late Night Health continues as you meet Rinaldo Burtoco, creator of Aloe Cadabra and dr-laurie-steelsmith, a naturopathic physician based in Honolulu and the author or co-author of Great Sex Naturally. This segment of our program is sponsored by Aloe Cadabra. Dr. Steelsmith, welcome to Late Night Health. Rinaldo, welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Good
You're
to talk
welcome.
with you again.
It's great to speak with you as well. The reason I had Rinaldo join us is because we've got two guys talking about women's health, women's sexual health. And we've got Laurie Steelsmith on the show as well. Why, guys, do men need to know about their lovers' bodies, particularly the vagina? Because it's a mystery to most of us.
You're asking me?
I'm
Mark?
asking you first, and then we'll find out from Dr. Steelsmith.
Okay, well, I think, first of all, I want to speak to something that no one else has been talking about since I was a young man. And as you know, I'm now in my mid-60s. Men just weren't, I believe, adequately conscious enough about women's sexual well-being. There's a lot of reasons for it, and I'm not making anybody wrong, cultural and whatever, the world we grew up in. But I feel that the women in our lives, particularly, and I think this is true of partners generally, so I don't want to just exclude, just address the female gender. But basically, for heterosexuals like myself, growing up, we weren't taught to think about women's emotions, the sexual excitement, etc., in a healthy fashion, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
It was more about male gratification. And I grew up seeing things that I didn't realize at the time were very, very harmful to women. Like I remember when I was in my 30s, a thing came out called Kama Sutra oil, which sounded very exotic. And since I'm an organic food guy of all my life, I read the label, and I couldn't believe what was in it. And I refused to sell it in our national mail-order catalog company, and I refused to sell it at our store. I said, I won't sell something that has those toxic chemicals in it, no matter how good it feels, because I wouldn't want to do that to my wife. And then it dawned on me that awareness was something new to me. And I started working with that awareness. And as I've grown older and more mature and have watched women step more into their personal power, I've really adjusted my thinking on what it is I need to do and to be aware of as a good partner in a healthy sexual relationship. And that means not only the stuff that men really don't like to know about or think about, which are all the various gynecological issues, but it's also the whole idea of sexual female wellness. So that's a big sea change for me. I think it's starting to happen for men generally. I wish I could say it was the norm. It's not yet, but I'm hoping it becomes the norm. I hope men become more concerned because, as they say, if mama ain't happy, nobody happy.
Oh, that's absolutely
That's
right.
great.
Dr. Steelsmith, would you agree with my statement that to most men, the vagina, even if they've been sexually active for years, find it a mystery?
Well, I think some women find it a mystery, too. That's the thing. I think there's a lack of education out there. And, I can't tell you how many women come in to see me who are 48 years old, and they are complaining of sort of a thinning, drying, even a little tender sensation down at the vulva, at the opening to the vagina, and they have no clue that this may be related to hormonal changes. And, when all of a sudden their lubrication starts to dry up, when they're intimate with their partner, they have no clue that this has to do with hormonal changes, and that there are some really lovely non-toxic, non-hormonal solutions to this as well. And I think that both men and women have been completely clueless about what's going into their lubricants that they do use to have pleasure with each other. And I have to tell you, honestly,
Yes.
When I wrote my book, I have a whole chapter on this in my book. I went to the products that I was selling on my shelf in my naturopathic holistic medical practice, and I had just blindly assumed that this product I purchased from this sort of this company that looked so holistic, and I had just blindly purchased these things for my patients who needed a nice lubricant and a nice warming gel, to help enhance stimulation. Mm-hmm. And I found in there that there were toxic ingredients that are detrimental to both men and women's health. And I'm very into the natural world. I have committed my life to studying natural medicine. So we as a culture are uneducated about these kinds of things.
We are talking about sex. We're talking about women's sexuality with the creator of Aloe Cadabra and Dr. Laurie-Steelsmith, a naturopathic physician based in Honolulu, Hawaii. We're going to take time out. Let me read this to you and talk to you about something. All those TV ads addressing the issue of vaginal dryness are correct. Sexual intimacy should not be painful. But have you listened to those outrageous side effects for pills like Osifena and drugs like Premarin? Who wants to experience vaginal bleeding, blood clots, strokes, uterine cancer, or pelvic pain when there's an organic, natural-as-nature alternative that lubricates and enhances sexual pleasure with no side effects? Welcome to the magic of Aloe Cadabra. And best of all, we're giving away a free tube of Aloe Cadabra to anyone who calls 866-961-2563 or goes to aloecadabra.com and enters the promotional code Late Night. Get your free tube today. Read the testimonials and experience the sexiest moments of your life. The number again, 866-961-2563, or go to aloecadabra.com. And I think starting next week, we'll have a little link on latenightshealth.com. If you go to latenightshealth.com, there'll be a big banner on there. You can click and go right to the Aloe Cadabra website. We are talking about women's sexual health. I have a friend who says that at the age of 100, he wants to father a child. In fact, he went to Lloyd's of London and took an insurance policy out on that he could do it naturally. Dr. Steelsmith, can we actively pursue a sex life well into our 80s, 90s, even into our hundreds?
Oh, I have patient proof of that. I mean, I have some patients that are in their late 80s. They, recently got married, and they have a lovely, intimate life. So, yes, the answer is absolutely and yes.
Want to hear a very funny statistic? You know what? One of the problems that retirement homes have is
STDs.
STDs. You knew. You got it. It's because they keep changing. They keep, they partner up for a while and they move on, both the men and the women. I find it fascinating.
And actually, the proper term now is STI, or sexually transmitted infection, rather than disease. Yeah, that's the new way of saying it. And that's true. They are partnering up. They are spreading different germs back and forth, and it's a population that we need to screen for.
So even if you're in your 80s, wear a condom.
Yes, I think so.
Right?
I think it's a good idea.
And by the way, I want to put a plug in for Aloe Cadabra because they're condom and toy safe. And unlike any other product on the market, they're vaginally balanced, they're pH balanced to normal vagina, and the consistency is like normal mucosa, so that when you're using it, it's as close as you can come to what you were like if you're 88, maybe 30 years ago or more, 40 years ago.
Wow.
And I'd like to add that one of the key things in the product is that it has the right osmolality, which is a nice chemistry term for having the correct amount of sodium on one side of the equation, so that you're not dehydrating cells. And what they found is that when people use lubricants that don't have the correct amount of salt in them, that they actually will shrivel up their tissues, kind of like little raisins. And what would happen is it actually would make the person who's using the product much more likely to get an STI like herpes or chlamydia or even HIV, because the cells aren't as robust, right? They've been dehydrated by the lubricant.
Right.
And so using the correct lubricant can actually help to protect your tissues rather than make your tissues more vulnerable to infection.
Actually, Mark, let me just throw something in there because
Sure.
we came across this when I was doing the research for how to make this product because we wanted to make it 100% organic, but we started looking at all the things that could go wrong if you made the product wrong, and we came up with osmolality, and I'm really glad that it was just introduced by Dr. Steelsmith because what we discovered was that, and there's now a standard, the United Nations has issued a report on this, basically saying it's dangerous because it literally creates increased infection from STIs. And the reason it does that, as she was saying, I just want to focus on this, is because if your tissues are dry to begin with, or even if they're normal to begin with, by putting a drying agent on them, particularly in the vagina where it's very, very thin, what happens is that you create more microscopic cracks in the surface of the tissue between the cells, and through those cracks, it's much easier for infection to invade. So there's actually a lot of science behind this. It's not like just gee, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't dry myself out? This is actually about healing your tissues with organic aloe vera rather than drying them and then providing greater infection possibilities. So that's really science.
Sure. And aloe is actually an natural antibacterial, if I'm not mistaken.
That's antibacterial and fungal as well. And as you know, and I think your listeners know, the reason I invented this was for my wife. So I was looking for every conceivable way I could make this not only safe, but enhancing to her sexual well-being. And, of course, that's why I went to these kinds of trouble. I think if I was just trying to make a product to make the most money, there's no way I would have kept digging and digging to resolve all of these various issues. I'm certainly glad I did, and every woman listening and every man listening can take advantage of the fact I put a year and a half of deep research just to get to the point where I knew how to make what we needed to make and had the ideas of, okay, where do we start? It was not a quick, okay, let's put it in the tube and goodbye.
And what's really nice is that there are now flavors as well as consistencies with the product with Aloe Cadabra. As we age, we've already talked about that. People still get randy, older, and they have sex. When I was growing up, my dad would come home from work, hug and kiss my mom. He would come up when she was cooking. He'd come up behind her and give her a hug. It was very, very touchy-feely, and I try to do that with my wife. Yet our kids will say, "Oh, get a room. Don't do that. You're too old to have sex." Do younger people just not want to think about their parents having sex? I know I don't want to think about my kids having sex. Is it conversely true as well? Dr. Steelsmith?
Is it conversely true as well that you don't want to think about your kids having sex?
Well, that I know, but do kids not want to have sex think about their parents having sex?
Well, I think it's always a creepy feeling.
Yeah, it probably is. Well, you don't have to...
I think that's just something we just can't even go there because of the way we're wired.
You're probably right. We're going to take some time out. If you would like a free tube of Aloe Cadabra, call 866-961-2563 or go to aloecadabra.com. I'm Mark Allen. Dr. Laurie-Steelsmith and Rinaldo Burtoco will be back as Late Night Health moves forward.